Nicole the Pole Williams is an aerial phenom. You have seen her working the pole in music videos such as Rihanna's Pour It Up, Cardi B's Money, Neo's She Knows, and the list goes on. She has appeared on the Ellen DeGeneres Show, Access Hollywood, The Insider, and Ricki Lake. She taught Nick Lachey how to pole dance on VH1 and even gave the Grammy-winning gospel group Mary Mary pole dance lessons. She was the first African American to create a pole dance instructional DVD series and had one of the biggest studios in Los Angeles. We discuss how depression crept into her life and robbed her from doing what she loved to do, and how by coming out of it, it birthed a new career and passion, becoming Nicole The Soul Williams, the life coach. Life as a pole dancer ain't easy, and Nicole joins Peaks and Valleys to talk about it right now.
They say it is the darkest before the dawn. But what do you do before the dawn comes, when all you have is candles and night lights guiding your path until morning, until your sight is restored and you can see your way out, your way through, your way to the other side. You push with all your might until the day breaks and your victory comes. This is Peaks and Valleys with TK Trinidad.
All right, folks, I am super excited. I believe this woman brought pole dancing to mainstream media. You have seen her everywhere. Please welcome Nicole The Soul Williams.
Hello. So happy to be here, TK. Thank you so much for hitting me up. I was like, hey, I want to interview you, girl. And I'm like, yes, these are the things I like to talk about.
No problem. It's one of those things like, for you guys who aren't following, if you start following her, you're going to notice that you've seen her everywhere. In music videos. It was a Cardi B music video that you did, right?
That was kind of one of the last videos. I did the Money video. Yeah.
So you've seen her everywhere. You've seen her on different TV shows. I really believe that you kind of brought like pole dancing out of the strip clubs into mainstream media as like a workout type thing. Mm-hmm. So you've been doing your thing for a long time. But when you see it from the outside, you're like, oh, she got everything. She's good. So let's kind of talk about a time in your life where just like, stuff wasn't going, the way you wanted it, and what you did to pull yourself out of it.
Let's go to the first moment as an adult when you're like riding on this high. Career is great, making over 6 figures. And then I fall into a depression. And this was around the time, this is probably around 2016. I had already been running my dance studio for about 7 years. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know this was happening at the time, but I was falling out of love with doing the business stuff, the business aspects of running the business. I've always been the person to do my own websites, my business cards, my graphics, my everything. And I actually liked doing that stuff. I was, I'm very creative. Mm-hmm. Something happened and I was like, how come I'm not excited to get up and do this stuff anymore? I was avoiding everything and I didn't know what that was. It was weird. It was happening for months, right? And business started slowing down. Mm-hmm. Maybe less clients were coming in. I'm not making as much. I'm wondering okay, got to the point where I'm like, well, I got to ask my dad for like a couple $1,000s to pay my employees, like the people that were for me, it had gotten there. And I was like, how did we get here? How did I go from, having 20 grand months, 15 grand months to now it's like, you only made like 6 grand this month. And so that doesn't cover my bills and paying the people that work for me. And I was just like, holy shit. And so my energy had become so displaced because I wasn't putting my energy into the studio that therefore it wasn't producing fruit. And I thought that everybody else just working there would keep everything on track. But your business really does take your energy. It took my energy to be involved for that business to come in, even though I wasn't there on a daily basis.
Right.
And I think that I just got emotionally drained, mentally drained of dealing with all the aspects that came with running the dance studio, dealing with certain employees, and just dealing with, it felt like I had some instructors that worked for me that just didn't understand what it took to run the business. Yes. And people wanted things and asked for things or, trying to get money in advance. And I'm like, I'm not a bank. Like, why are you putting this pressure on me to pay you all this money for something that you think you're doing, but you're not doing? You know what I mean? And I think when you don't have your own business, you don't understand like the breakdown of payments and what's coming in and what's going out. And people want to calculate what they think is coming in, and they think they should do all of that. And that was just really, really, really frustrating.
And
so it kind of just burnt me out. And it made me feel like unappreciated. And it made me feel like, you know, I'm trying to do so much for other people, but nobody really knows what's going on in the background. And so I think that had a lot to do with me kind of just falling out of love with the business aspects. And then this depression hit. I closed my studio because, again, now it's not making enough. And I'm like, you know what? A friend of mine, my mentor, he was like, at this point, the studio is burning you. I think you should just close it. Because it had been probably about 4 to 6 months where it was like I wasn't hitting the mark. And so the thing that I also held on to was I held on to the studio longer than I probably knew I wanted to keep it. But I was like, what else am I going to do? Like, I hadn't put any thought into, okay, what else am I going to do? Like, I knew I could still teach pole. I know I could still do personal training, but to not do it in the way that I had been doing it for so long, it almost felt like, damn. Like, I was like, if I close my studio, people are going to think I fell off. You know, I was like worrying about that. I started worrying about what other people would think, and I had never worried about that before. It was crazy. So that was like another layer of just like pushing myself down into the ground. And then at the time, also I had decided to get certified to become a life coach. As I'm going through this process of dealing with my business kind of falling apart, there's a depression kicking in that I don't know is kicking in. I don't want to get up and move. I'm waking up and I'm looking at things that I need to do, and I'm sitting on the couch and I can't move. Like, I literally, and I'm just like, where is the fire inside of me that used to get me up every day, that I was excited to go get shit done? Why is that? Like, it literally felt gone. It was like, if I were to be moving with the flame inside of me, it felt like that flame was out. And I didn't, it felt so far away. It felt like I actually couldn't get back to my old self again. And that was the craziest feeling. That's when I knew something was wrong. Because I'm like the most positive person anybody has ever met. You know, I'm all about the affirmations. I do the work. I was like, I can't be depressed, not me. Like, I meditate, I read, I have a spiritual advisor. I'm always checking in on myself. I'm working on myself. How can I be depressed? Not me. You know, I had this spiritual arrogance. You know what I mean? I was like, my mom's been depressed. I was like, other people are depressed. I can't be depressed. So there was a stage of going through this denial stage, right? Which kept me in my shit longer. So denying that I was going through this experience actually kept me in prison to it a little longer, right?
Wow. Okay.
And then finally, the person I was dating at the time, she was like, I think you might be depressed. And I was just like, what? Like, me? And I started looking up like the symptoms, like what it looks like. And I was like, shit, like, okay, this is real. So now let me tell you the gift in going through depression at 37 after coming off this big high. When I decided to become a life coach, I always set kind of like these intentions for why it is that I want to do what I want to do, right? So with the coaching, I was like, you know, I want to impact millions of lives. I want to help people transform their lives and realize how powerful they are. So I feel like the universe was like, oh, you want to impact millions of lives? Well, let me show you what millions of people are going through. Like, that was the message that I got, because being a life coach and say I want to impact millions of lives, but then I have a judgment about depression, I think it's not real.
Right.
Who I'm gonna help? You know what I mean?
Before you finish that, like, did you feel that the depression was more amplified because of like your standing in, like, I just feel like when you're known and more people know you than you know people, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Do you feel like that was just like, okay, now, because I remember when your social media just kind of changed a little bit. Like, I remember when you were posting a lot and you had the studio and stuff like that. And I don't like officially remember when like you said or you posted something that the studio closed down, but I remember that like the studio wasn't there anymore. And I remember your posts were changing a little bit, and I was just kind of like, damn, like, you know, I hope everything is, you know, because I didn't know you. So I was like, damn, I hope everything is going well. Like, I remember that shift. Like, you can see that in people's posts, especially if they're out there a lot. So did you feel like there was even more, like there wouldn't have been as much pressure if you were in, I mean, no offense to Midwest wherever. But do you think there's more pressure because you were living in LA and, being kind of a part of the entertainment industry?
I don't think it has anything to do with where I lived. It was the fact that I had created this name for myself and this brand, and that I felt like I wasn't keeping up. Like I feel like I lost that. So I think people deal with that no matter where they live across the board. I think if you live in LA, then you think the problem you're dealing with is just LA people, but it happens literally around the US. So the attachment to my name, to what I had accomplished, and then now feeling like I lost that, that was hard to face. And I was projecting outward that other people cared about that. And that wasn't true. And so that lie of thinking that it's other people will literally create these, it's negative self-talk, right? It's saying that someone else cares, but it's me that cares about it, right? And then I'm going to say that other people do to make me kind of be caught in this stuff. That also just adds to the depression of you feeling below, less than, right? I'm making myself less than because I'm not keeping up to what I used to do. That was kind of the mental box that I was in, that I was holding myself to. And I think that a lot of people dealing with depression, they're holding on to an image of oneself that they're afraid to let go of, because they think that because they're not this anymore, that they don't have this, that now people aren't going to see them. Mm-hmm. And so for me, I felt like, okay, I've been working for myself since I was 20. I've had my own businesses, but now I don't feel like I can do it again. That was depressing. I feel like I lost my superpowers, my mojo. Mm-hmm. And so what had to happen was I had to be grateful for the experience that I was going through. And I had to understand that life has ups and downs. So the me going through depression, my studio closing, I needed to experience all of that because I thought it could never happen to me. And the truth is, the shit happens to everybody. Everybody can be on a high and get knocked the fuck off their little throne. At any moment, no matter how good you are, no matter how big your heart is, no matter how much you do for other people, like it had nothing to do with that. And that was my friend calls it spiritual bypass, right? When you think you become I thought I became so developed that I couldn't go through experiences like that anymore. And so that knocked me on my ass. And that was the humblingness that I needed at that time to grow into this more evolved being that I said I wanted to be. So universe is like, guys, like, let me show you what the fuck, people are going through. This is what causes depression. Like, this is this, and this is what this looks like. And this is why it happens to people. This is why it's happening to you. So now that I've gone through the experience, I can help other people go through it now. Because I know what it looks like. I know that it's real. I can have compassion and understanding for your experience because I've gone through it. That's the most beautiful gift ever. And once I got that, like once that clicked in my head one day, then I started becoming okay with what I was going through. Because I was just going through it. But I was in that shit for like 2.5 years, yo. It did not feel good. I was like, is it ever going to end?
So when you were in it, because there's different degrees, and I mean, you're a certified life coach, so you can speak more to it, but there's different degrees. And, on the extreme is like, you think you can't do it anymore and the negative happens. Yeah. And then there's that other part where it's just like, all right, I'm in this, it sucks, but I'm going to get through it. Mm-hmm. So in that midst of that 2.5 years, like what was what were you telling yourself? Like what got you through?
For the first year, I was just in it thick. Like I didn't see a way out of it. Second year, I was like, okay, it's time to go back into like self-development programs. Like I had done Landmark before, I done MITT. I did this program called MITT, Mastery and Transformational Training. That was the one that really kind of like snatched me up out of it, like brought me back out so I could see my higher self again, my greatest self. Mm-hmm. Because when I walked into this self-development program, people saw me. They were like, something about you. And then when I shared my stuff that I thought people would look down at me on, they were like, so you dealt with that and you're experiencing this and this is how you show up? It was like, oh, wow, nobody cares about the shit that I thought people would care about. Right. So going through that experience and seeing that nobody cares about the bullshit that I'm telling myself matters. Oh, I'm depressed. Oh, I'm using drugs to kind of deal with my depression. I just thought that was so bad. It was so like not me. And nobody fucking cared. They were like, oh, that's it. But actually, that helps so much. And I needed to hear that from enough people, right? So that program, and then also my friends. And when I got into like the second year of depression, I finally started telling people what I was going through, and my friends were the ones who reminded me of who the fuck that I was. And had I not shared, I would have stayed in my shit longer. So it's so important to share what you're going through with the correct people, right? Because another one of my good mentor who told me to close my studio, he didn't know how to talk to me in what I was dealing with. He was like me. I was like him. So when I'm telling him that I'm going through this experience, he's like, you need to just do this, 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 and this. You need to stop having negative thoughts. Da, 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 da. And I'm just like, no, that's not working. I still feel like I'm in a black hole. What you're saying does not make any sense. I was like, dude, it's more serious than this. I can't just be like, I'm going to get up and I'm going to go work out and I feel good. And then I'm going to all of a sudden start feeling good. I was like, no, that's not what's happening. I was like, and so now you have me fighting with someone that I trust and believe. And I'm thinking I'm supposed to just hop out of it, but I can't just hop out of it. And that's what I used to tell other people. Like, you can just get up out of that. You know what I mean?
I think it's like, it has to do with like I call it like the athletic mind. It's like, I know athletes are very, and I'm very much like that. Like, oh yeah, all right, you have a problem? Okay, let's do this and this and this and that. And that's what I would tell myself. And I too like went through depression, and I had to get help, and I had to get different types of help. Like I had the coaching life coach, but then I had the therapist that was like more gentle and more like, because I needed that person to treat the younger self of me. And it's like you needed kind of both. I needed kind of those both because I, you know, being that person and also having that person like, yeah, we're gonna get through it, we're gonna do 20 push-ups and you're gonna feel amazing. It's like, no, that's
no, exactly.
I don't want to do a push-up right now, and I used to love working out. So yeah, I totally get you with that. So was there like a mantra or something that, like, you know, as you're kind of getting through this black hole that you were telling yourself?
I was still doing my affirmations, like creating vision list of where I wanted to go, how I saw myself. Like, I'm still thinking about, you know, I'm going to change lives and I'm going to be this amazing life coach. And, you know, when I close my studio, I'm going to go right into coaching, and it's going to blow up the exact same way that it did with Pole. But what the truth was, Pole didn't actually just blow up. In my mind, I thought it did. You know what I mean? But I'm like, no, that actually took years for that to happen. Like, me doing my first music video, the Rhianna Poured Up, that happened 6 years after I started pole dancing. So I didn't just come onto the scene, but I thought in my mind, because I was already big and successful at this one thing, that when I moved into my coaching, that when I got certified, that was going to happen. And then that didn't happen. So then I'm like, fuck, like I just closed my studio. Now I'm certified to be a coach, but nothing is still transpiring. And then it was just like more stuff. And so I just had to keep leaning into people, and I had to ask for support. That was the next lesson, right? So being depressed, you need a lot of love. And what was happening was, even though I felt like I gave myself a lot of love, I had a lot of people that loved me, I was also blocking love. So in not sharing, if I'm not sharing, that means I'm not being vulnerable enough to allow people to support me in the very way that I support people every day as an instructor and a coach. How fucking crazy is that, right? The very thing that I do that lights me up, I wasn't allowing other people to do that for me. And so next lesson, you need to go through depression, Nicole, because you need to learn how to receive. You need to learn how to let people help you the reason I want to be a coach is to help other people. The reason I want to teach is to help people see how powerful they are, to remind them how great they are. That's what my friends had to fucking do back to me. And it was so weird at first, but it felt so good. And it was the very thing that I needed. But the friends that showed up the most were the friends that I didn't think were going to be the ones. I had this spiritual arrogance thing around thinking that if you weren't spiritual like me, if you didn't talk the way that I talked, that you couldn't help me. The friends who didn't talk like I talked, the friends who didn't do the things that I did, they were the ones that were there for me the most, who supported me the most. And they were so happy to. I had one girlfriend was like, it feels good to finally be able to do something for you. And I was just like, man, like I started crying. And one friend, she was like, you need to surrender. I was like, what the fuck is surrender? Like, I was like, nah, man.
Oh my
I
gosh.
was being mad at having to be still because I was used to always moving and going. The next lesson, your ass ain't got to always be moving and going.
Oh my gosh. I feel like we're like parallels. Like it's I feel
It's a thing we all have to experience. That's why it sounds like you're like, I know what that is. So what I got to see was life goes boom, 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 and then it comes back down. But what happens as you're going back down, you can develop speed, learn things, lessons that now when I go to take off again, bitch, I'm going up higher than I did before. But there will be another drop.
Right.
And you got to be ready. So now, guess what? I'm ready I can handle another drop. I'm not going to be like, oh my God, why me? Why is this happening to me now? Like I was before. Now I'm like, oh, this is the kind of shit that just happens in life. And now I get to change how I process it. Now I know to allow other people to help me and to support me. You know what I mean? Like there's different tools and ways of being that I have now because I've gone through an experience. And now I can even help guide other people through those experiences now as a coach. Because I've dealt with that same stuff.
Now, this is a two-part question. Do you feel like, because I really had like an aha moment maybe 3 or 4 years ago when I really realized that, oh, life is like ups and downs. Like you're not going to hit that goal and you have the family or whatever your dream is and life is going to be great. Like it really like dawned on me a few years ago, like, oh, the rest of my life is going to be like this. It's going to have those ups and downs and all this other stuff. Like, do you think like, is it something that we have to go through personally or can we teach our children? Like,
no, you have to go through it. That's a part of life. And to think anything differently means you're going to be hit harder by these things happening. Like I just said, this is the shit that has to happen in life. So like for me, I thought, be spiritual, be successful, take care of everything. Life's going to be good, right?
Right.
We can look at a lot of people who are great people, great hearts. Guess what? Their child dies. Their mother passes away. They get into an accident. You break a leg, you break a back. You get depression. You find out somebody in your family's doing drugs. Somebody got raped. Like, there's life happening. It's just beautiful death. Beautiful broken. Like that's just what it is, and it's how we process those things.
Yeah, I think I just wanted to protect my future kids, just like give them the formula.
There's no protecting, right? There literally isn't. They're just helping them to know that. So look, how about your child knowing? How about if I knew that life was going to have these ups and downs? So people say that. I hear it. Life is full of ups and downs.
Right.
But ain't nobody talking about the ups and downs. That's why I want to talk about the ups and downs so that you know that if you're experiencing this, it don't mean life is over. This is normal and you're going to move through it. Yeah. Teach your child that. Don't teach them and try to protect them from experiencing something, from not experiencing something that they're supposed to experience. That's where we hinder people. Trying to save.
That's like, it took me about 1.5 years to really kind of come up with the concept of the show. I knew I didn't want it to be like, oh, we're just interviewing. I just didn't want to do that. There's already too much of it. And that's really what I want to touch on, because it's just one of those things where you see people and you just don't know, right? And you see people on the gram and everything, and you're just assuming stuff. But like, I think, everybody that's come on the show, I've learned so much. And you really just realize that the human experience, no matter race, color, creed, whatever, is still like, everybody has that moments.
Everyone, no matter your ethnicity, where you live, your income, everyone is dealing with some shit. No matter how good, because I'm not going to share my shit online. Like I talked about my depression as I was coming through it. I was able to start discussing it, but I couldn't talk about it when I was in it because I was in it.
Right.
There was nothing I wanted to talk about that. Like, why would I share that? But then there's me sharing it from a powerful place after I've gone through it and I'm moving through it. Then I was able to talk about it in a powerful way. And that was important to me. Not to talk about it in a complaining way, not to talk about it in a, oh my God, this happened to me, but to say, yo, I went through this. Like, it's okay. This is like, it's good. And there's gifts in it. Mm-hmm. And if you can be grateful for everything happening, you can find the gift. If you continue to complain and deny it, you will stay in it longer.
This is very true. So you had mentioned the mantra, the affirmations that you were doing. Could you share like what affirmations you were saying to yourself, even in the midst of everything happening?
My highest good is always happening for me. Money, I love money. Money loves me, because I wasn't making money at the time, but I love money. Money loves me. The universe always supports all my needs. I am supported. I allow myself to surrender. I love myself. I did a lot of surrender meditations after my friend mentioned that to me, because in trying to be in control of everything, you're actually out of control. So when I just surrender and allow myself to just be in this, what it is, and then allow myself to just get the support that I need, and to know that, like, having friends to remind me, like, you're going to be okay. I was like, are you sure? Are you sure? And they'd be like, Nicole, you're going to be fine. Nicole, you are a rock star. Nicole, you've been taking care of everything. Like, you're going to be okay. And I just couldn't see up. But to hear that, it was like, okay, I got to, because I know this person wouldn't just say this to me. You know what I mean? So to have people around you that you can actually trust their word, and they got your back too. Like, okay, if I need something, like, you got me, because you help me through this. And I had that. And that's the biggest thing. If you allow yourself to just be loved, supported, and don't keep to yourself. Like, there's going to be moments where you definitely want to be by yourself, but you got to know how to come up out of that occasionally, and then be able to tell your friends how to support you too. That's another thing that I wanted to talk about with depression. A lot of people try to help you, but they don't know what to do. And so they can end up injuring, your relationship. And I think it's best that people ask the person, what is it that I can do to support you, to help you, to, keep you happy. Like, do you want me to, can I come over? We can go for a walk for a couple minutes. Like, those are the things I had to start doing. I would make sure I was, continue to meditate. I started going to the park, because I was like, okay, being out with nature, grounding myself is going to help to bring my mood up. And it literally did. But it was just getting myself to be committed to doing it at least 2 to 3 times a week. Like, I had to write little notes, go outside, just go take a walk, go across the monkey bars, and then just go right back in the house. So, like, if I did that, that was like a big deal. And just little things like that, it's creating the habits of the things that you used to do that brought me light, that brought me joy. It's continuing that stuff, even though life feels kind of yucky right now. You still got to keep up with your practices.
Whew. Okay. Last, I mean, I feel like we could just go, like, we could just talk so long, but I won't keep you very much longer. Last thing, for somebody who is going through that valley, as a life coach, and as, even though you might not know them, as a friend, in one sentence, what would you say to, uplift them?
For anybody out there going through depression right now, what I would say is just know that it is going to end. It does not last forever. And you have to speak into that, saying that I'm going through this temporarily. There's so many lessons and gifts that I'm going to get from going through this experience. So it's like you have to be affirmative in how you speak to yourself, and just know that there's a huge blessing also on the other side if I just continue moving forward. Such big blessings on the other side, like, life is good now. You know what I mean? Better than before. And it just took a while, and you'll get through it as fast as you're willing to let go of the thing that you're holding on to, the old stuff, which is keeping you pulled down. If you can just let go of that stuff and be ready to move and shift into your new self, you're going to get through it.
Boom. There it is. Thank you so much, Nicole,
You're
for
welcome.
values. I am like, it's just so crazy just to see, I just want to say your Instagram journey, because like I see it, and I don't know if but it's just like, just from, it's like, man, like, I hope she's good. And then I just saw your stuff, like, slowly coming back, and you're doing amazing things. I saw the stuff with Snoop and stuff like that. I'm like, hi, like, I think big things are coming. And then I see the life coaching. I was like, all right, I know what this is. I see. I know she has a story
now. You know what I mean? It's testimony. And I'm going to be 41 in September, right? I'm like, because before, I look young. most people don't see all the stuff that I do in the background. They may not see the spiritual undertones and the work that is done. They see just the outside fun stuff. But I'm like, I feel good knowing that I have these experiences now. It's like, okay, I feel like a real ass adult. You know what I mean? Because I still feel so much like a kid, and I look like so young that even I think that I'm 20, but my body's like, nah, you 40, you got to stretch now. Like, you tight.
It's absolutely.
And I got these experiences that let me know, like, yo, I can help you. I can help myself. And like, let's get out here and let's do this work. And so I'm excited to be able to share my wisdoms, the tools and skill sets that I've used to amplify my life. And I just want to give that back out to people.
Nice. Well, before we get out here, where can people find you if they want to get your services? And two, I know I said this was the last question like 5 minutes ago, but I was really, really hesitant because I didn't know really what a life coach was, 5 years ago, whatever. And it's just kind of like my life coach has helped me so much. And I really scoffed at it.
Yeah.
Like, well, what are they, like, what's happening? What are they going to do? Stuff like that. So it's just kind of like, can you explain to the folks? Because I can't really even explain it to myself, but I'm just thankful that she's in my life.
Yeah.
So can you explain to folks what a life coach is and then where they can find you?
So a life coach is basically like a coach of like an athletic team or an athlete or an entertainer. We help you kind of like program design your life, help you know how to do life better. There's tools and skills and things that you can learn how to communicate better, how to process your emotions, how to change your mindset. That's like my superpower. I can listen to how you talk for 10 minutes and I can tell you why it is that life looks exactly the way that it looks just based on how you talk, right? So as a life coach, I'm always listening to everything that it is that you are saying and that you are bringing to the table. And so if you have a game plan, if there's things that you want to accomplish, I'm going to tell you like, hey, this is how we can get there. And I'm going to allow you to create the path for that. If there's things you're trying to figure out, we're going to help you figure that stuff out. So a coach is just somebody that's on your team 100%. Like, think of me as like your best friend, your auntie, your homegirl, you know what I mean? Your business partner. Like, I want to see you win. And that's what a coach is there. A coach is literally there to help you win at life. A coach at life. Just like I coach you at pole dance. So if you think I'm amazing at pole, right? Or you see other people that are doing amazing things after I taught them, it's because they had a coach, a teacher. So imagine having somebody to help you move through life with more ease and flow, and learning those things that you don't learn in school. That's the biggest thing. Teaching you the shit that you don't learn in school that you actually need to have for life. Yeah.
So where can people find
me? My coaching page on Instagram is Nicole the Soul Coach. I have a website coming soon. I just got done working with a life coach for about 6 months, a good friend of mine. So we developed 2 new programs that I'm going to be putting out. So you can send me a DM if you're interested in that. And then my pole dance page is Nicole the Pole. So Nicole the Pole and Nicole the Soul Coach. They rhyme.
Destiny. Thank you so much, Nicole, for joining Peaks and Valleys.
Oh, thank you so much. This is amazing. I love talking about this stuff.
Peaks and Valleys is produced by Josh Rodriguez and TKO Productions. Spoken word and voiceover is done by yours truly, Lem Gonzalez. Thank you for listening, and remember, after the darkness comes the dawn.